Welcome and welcome to Titli's Busy Kitchen with me, Titli Nihan. At Easter time, it's very traditional where I come from to eat hot cross buns. They're a fruity kind of bread. They're absolutely delicious and very easy to make. I've got enough ingredients here to make 12 hot cross buns. So I've got 450 grams or 3 cups of plain flour, 250 ml or a cup of milk, and I've heated the milk just slightly in the microwave for about 30 seconds, so it's a little bit above room temperature. 50 grams of caster sugar, 50 grams of butter. Here I have a teaspoon of cinnamon, half a teaspoon of nutmeg, and a good pinch each of cloves and ginger powder. Here there's half a teaspoon of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of dried yeast, 75 grams or half a cup of raisins, and about 2 tablespoons of sultanas. Now, there's something missing. Can you tell me what it is, children? Yes, it's an egg! Hooray! The first thing I'm going to do is add the yeast into the milk and whisk it in to start to let it activate while I'm preparing the rest of the ingredients. I'll sift together the flour and the spices into a bowl, add in the salt and mix it all together. I've cut the butter into pieces and I'll just add it into the flour and mix it all together with my hands. Oh, this is great fun. When you've mixed all the butter in, it should be really light like this. You shouldn't be able to see any butter. So now what I'll do is I'll add in the sugar and mix it all together. That's looking really nice now. So now what I'll do is I'll make a little well in the centre. Then I'll take the egg, beaten it up, and I'll just add it into the bowl. Then I'll take the yeast and milk mixture and add that in as well. And then fold it all together very nicely. What you shall end up with is this really sticky, elastic dough. Look at that, plops off, and your hand looks like a swamp monster. But don't worry, because we'll soon fix this. We'll just put the bowl to one side and flour the surface very well. And then tip the dough onto the surface and start to knead it. After a couple of minutes, just spread it out a bit, make enough space to add in the currants and the sultanas, and then just fold them in and knead these evenly throughout the dough. That's looking quite nice. You see, it's really quite elastic. If you might get one that escapes, don't worry, because you can just eat it. Now then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this into a bowl, cover it and leave it to rise for about an hour. After an hour, you can see that the dough has risen quite nicely. So now I'm going to turn this out onto a lightly floured surface. Just knock it back a bit. Knead it for about a minute, 2 minutes. It's very fluffy and smells all yeasty. Okay, that's looking nice again. Make it into a nice ball, pop it back into its bowl, cover it and leave it for another half an hour. It's all puffed up like a big puffy up thing. So I'll pop it out onto a light surface again. And I'm going to split this into 12 pieces. Okay, I've taken each of the 12 pieces and I've rolled them into a ball shape. I've got a greased baking tray here. Actually, I've got 2 greased baking trays, but I'm going to put 6 balls onto each tray. Now I'll cover them lightly with a piece of baking paper and leave them for another 30 minutes. While I'm waiting for my buns to rise, I'm going to make a very soft pastry to make the crosses. So I've got half a cup of 75 grams of plain flour, and I'm going to add in just a little less than 1/4 cup of water, or about 4 tablespoons, and mix it together with a whisk into a soft dough. Keep adding more water if you need to. Add enough water that you get this really quite soft dough. You don't want it too sloppy because you want it to hold its shape. Now that my buns have risen, I'm going to pipe across on top of each bun, and I've put the pastry mix into a piping syringe, but you can use a piping bag, and then just very carefully pipe on across. Now these are ready to go into an oven at 200 degrees C for about 15 to 18 minutes until they become lovely and golden. After 15 minutes they're lovely and brown. Now I've made a glaze by dissolving 4 tablespoons of sugar in 4 tablespoons of milk. And I'm just going to brush this onto the buns while they're hot. Okay, that's great. Now I'm going to pop them on a wire rack to cool. Fruity, sticky, hot cross buns. Delicious. But you do need to allow yourself a couple of hours to make these. Join me next time in Titli's Busy Kitchen with me, Titli. Until next time, Huda Hafiz.